Madam Deputy Speaker, can I commend my right honourable friend, the Chancellor, for his budget statement today. He is, I believe, slowly but surely getting Britain's economy back on the right track. However, we have much work to do. The United Kingdom has, I believe, no business in being a high-tax, low-growth and low-aspiration nation. That is not the Britain that I recognise. The people of Romford are feeling the pinch. The overall burden of tax is higher than it has been since the Second World War. Council tax is rising in the London Borough of Havering yet again, but public services are not even meeting the basic expectations. Local government is struggling to remain solvent. The cost of living is hitting my constituents in the pocket very hard, with energy prices rocketing and the daily cost of food and essential shopping rising to unprecedented levels. Inflation remains acute, yet there is little economic growth. Financial prudence may be an important Conservative attribute, which is certainly absent from the benches opposite, but there is, Madam Deputy Speaker, nothing less Conservative than a record high tax burden. We can and must do very much better. Hard-working families in Romford want to see lower taxes, higher economic growth and good public services. These three aims can only be achieved if we adopt a robust, free enterprise agenda, reduce the size of the state at every level, and give the British people the incentives they need to work harder, be more productive, and maximise our nation's potential for economic growth. My Essex constituents are entrepreneurs, market traders, small businessmen, shopkeepers, and city workers. They do not want to see an economic policy of managed decline, but rather one of heightened ambition and raised expectations. So, that is why I welcome many of the Chancellor's tax announcements today. The additional 2% cut to national insurance contribution means that this Conservative government has delivered £900 annual tax cut for the average worker. The extended cut to fuel duty will also help hard-working people mitigate the costs of the Mayor of London, who has imposed so much extra costs on my constituents. Child benefit reforms will help millions of hard-working families. The reforms to stamp duty and reduction in capital gains will help millions of property owners. Nevertheless, the Chancellor has repeatedly recalled over recent days that nations with the most economic growth, whether they be in North America or Asia, are those with even lower taxes. I encourage the Chancellor to further emulate these countries' success in the years to come. Low taxes will put money back into the pockets of the British people, leading to higher growth and more resources for public services. My right honourable friend, the Chancellor, clearly shares this outlook with his announcements today of tax cuts, investment and reform to boost productivity in the public sector. However, I encourage the Chancellor to go much further. We should follow the footsteps of the Thatcher-Lawson Budget, which led to unprecedented economic prosperity in the 1980s and the 1990s. We can and must succeed, but Britain has to be much bolder if we are to reap the benefits by becoming a low-tax, high-growth economy once again. But tax cuts and investment alone will not be enough. We need to adopt a radical plan to free our economy from needless bureaucracy that is holding Britain back. The benefits of becoming a sovereign nation once again following Brexit gives our nation exciting opportunities that we must seize to maximise our ability to generate growth and prosperity that we so desperately need. Margaret Thatcher showed the world how it could be done 40 years ago, rescuing Britain from the perilous situation she inherited following decades of a failed post-war socialist consensus. Today, we live in a post-pandemic world, but if we are to recover from the consequences of lockdowns, a radical approach is required to jumpstart our economy and unshackle ourselves from the red tape and over-regulation and government waste. Britain today is overgoverned, so reducing the size and role of the state must now be an imperative for our Conservative government. Regulation and public sector spending do not grow the economy, put cash into people's pockets or improve public services. It is the small businessmen in towns like Romford, the shopkeepers in towns like Romford, the people who are the entrepreneurs and market traders, they are the people that will provide and generate the economic prosperity for the future. I am disappointed that unfairness of local authority funding formula has not been addressed. Councils up and down the country, including my own borough, Havering, is facing acute financial pressures. The funding formula is unfair and outdated. It is also discriminatory against boroughs like Havering, Outer London in Essex. It fails to address differences in demographics. Most importantly, it leads to hard-working, tax-paying Britons without services they need and deserve. This issue too requires ambitious reform. Madam Deputy Speaker, ambition is key. Lower taxes, higher growth, reform and deregulation, exploiting all the advantages of Brexit, investment and reform of the public sector. This is the way forward for Britain. Our government has been right to tread a prudent path back to economic growth, but now is the time to be bold and fearless in the pursuit of greater ambitions we have for the British people.